Hello, it's Lord Salah here, coming over today with another video, and the topic of today's is the top 5 Cyberman stories. So the Cybermen are one of the most famous villains in Doctor Who, bar the Daleks, and had a bit more of a rocky time because a lot of writers don't quite understand how you're supposed to do them, some of the costumes aren't very good, and they kind of just get fiddled around and put in as a generic monster of the week rather than have the proper focus, care and attention that they need. But despite this, there's still plenty of good episodes. In my opinion, they were only really quite good in the 60s, but they still have had some good episodes outside the 60s. But oh well, this is the top 5 Cyberman stories. Let's get into the list. So at number 5 we have the 10th Planet. So the 10th Planet is the Cybermen's first story, and it's quite a good introduction to them. Because mainly the Cybermen are done absolutely fantastically in this, especially with the costumes, because, it looks like kind of botched remains of humans, fusion of flesh with metal, and technology as it's supposed to be. Because, they're not just robots, as a lot of episodes seem to misunderstand. They are actual kind of people with all their emotions removed and fused with technology. And, that's the whole point of them, and that's done to perfection. However, for the plot, can't really say the same for that. The plot of this episode's a bit shaky. It's one of those, kind of plots where it just happens. Like, the characters have very little influence on what goes on, and, it's one of those plots which just happens, and I personally am not a fan of those kind of plot influence on what actually goes on. But still, it's a really enjoyable episode. It's still fun to watch, even if the plot isn't the best thing ever. The Cybermen are great, the characters are great, and there's a few tense scenes here and there. And it's a very good watch, and that's why it comes in at number 5. So at number 4 we have the Moon Base. The Moon Base is absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love this episode. It's got one of the best atmospheres of any Doctor Who episode. I mean, the 60s is generally pretty atmospheric, and I think it's something to do with the black and white and the crap sound quality, but oh well, it works. And plus the animation's actually quite decent on this one as well. I don't mind the animation on the DVD release, and I'd prefer it over reconstruction, like say the Ice Warriors animation. Also, the Cybermen are done absolutely brilliantly in this. It brings in their more tactician side and, just like explaining what they are as they did in the 10th Planet, which it's really fun to watch. And it's great to see how, they just find humans really weird and stupid for having emotions. And in the Target novel, they actually refer to the humans as retarded, which, if you were a Cyberman, you would look at our emotions and think, that was the case. Also, the Doctor's brilliant, and that Patrick Troughton really comes to his own with his performance in this episode more than all of his episodes previously. I mean, he was good in Power of the Daleks too, but I feel like this is when he really come into his stride. I think this is when he really understood the role and knew exactly how to play it, and he'd done it at perfection. And Jamie started to get a little more involved because in the Underwater Menace, I don't know, he didn't really have any personality, and Jamie is my favourite companion, so it's kind of sad to see him in Underwater Menace with little personality. And while he is knocked out for most of this episode, he actually does something at some point. And plus, Polly's great in this episode. Plus, Ben's great in this episode. Everything's great about this episode. All the supporting cast are great. Simon are great. Just everything's great in this great atmospheric story, and I absolutely love it. And that's why it comes in at number 4. So at number 3, we have The Invasion. So in terms of how good this is as a Cyberman story, it's not the best, but in terms of an actual story, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, the Cybermen aren't particularly done well in this, but this lists in order of preference of episode rather than effectiveness as a Cyberman story. Because where it really shines is the other elements. For one, it's the debut of Unit, and they're a lot of fun. I always enjoy watching a bit of Unit, especially with the second Doctor. I think we get along quite well with him. We only get this with them, but oh well, you still get plenty of them in the Pertwee era. And also we have Tobias Vaughan and Patty with International Electromatics. It's a really fun setup. They're two absolutely excellent characters. And, I like the kind of espionage thing going on, which we see a lot more of in the Pertwee era. It's more or less just a foreshadow of the Pertwee era, but done absolutely fantastically. It's 8 episodes long. It flies by. All the characters are great. It's extremely enjoyable. And that's why it comes in at number 3. So at number 2 we have Earthshock. So while this isn't the best in terms of a Cyberman story again, it's more because they're kind of done a bit wrong rather than not being utilised. The Cyber Leader has too much emotion, really. David Banks puts in an excellent performance, mind you, but I feel like it's kind of the script's fault. It's given the Cyber Leader emotion, which the Cybermen should have absolutely none of. But aside from that, it's a brilliant episode, and the Cybermen are actually quite intimidating in it, despite this. And plus, all the other characters are great. Quite enjoy Scott and the captain on the ship, and Ringway is kind of a shit enemy, but I can look past it. Episode 1 is phenomenal with the androids in the caves. It's really tense, really well written and directed. The other episodes are great too, with kind of a bit of a base under siege kind of thing going on. And it's just a really enjoyable episode, which is paced excellently, written excellently, and the music just works perfectly with it to make quite a nice atmospheric piece, which is just a great return for the Cybermen, even if they aren't done exactly the best they ever were. But oh well, it's still an amazing episode, one of my favourites of all time, as are the top 4 in general, and that's why it comes in at number 2. Honourable mentions now, and the only one for today is The Wheel in Space. So while this isn't exactly my favourite thing ever or anything, I just thought I'd mention it because I quite enjoyed the episode, and just please, anybody who doesn't like Wheel in Space, can you please in the comments tell me why? Because this episode consistently gets ranked as, a really bad story and like one of the worst Cyberman stories. I mean, maybe not that bad, but it always gets really low ranked. Like, people saying, oh, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, saying it's not very good at all. Why? I mean, I watched the entire thing and I did not see what was wrong with it. It was paced decently, the Cybermen were decent, it had a good atmosphere, filmed well enough. It was enjoyable. It wasn't the best thing ever. It's certainly the worst of the Trout and Cyberman stories, but it's still a good story nonetheless. Just please explain to me down in the comments why it's bad, and just enlighten me really, because I don't get why people don't like this episode. So, at number 1, we have The Tomb of the Cybermen. This is an absolutely phenomenal story, which I would pretty much describe as magical. While there are some parts of it which, from an outsider point of view, may be a bit from an insider's point of view, and somebody who's watched it since, they were 9 years old, it's just a magical story. It's got a great atmosphere. It's got some really good, cool moments. The Cybermen are done well. The Cyber Control is great. Just everything about it just works for me, and works for a lot of other people too, as you can see, because a lot of people really enjoy this episode. And when I say it's mainly about atmosphere, I kind of mean it, because if you take a look at, it objectively, Tomb of the Cybermen is kind of a bit crap, but non-objectively, just from enjoying it for what it is, it's absolutely brilliant and one of my favourite bits of Doctor Who, because it's just so enjoyable and magical. Like, I know I've said magical 3 times now, but I don't often use that word to describe something. But in this case, I can, because that's really the only word to describe it. Because it's just this kind of awe when you're watching it, which you don't really get with many other Doctor Who episodes. Real sense of adventure and mystery, and it's just a really, really fun watch, especially with Troughton's performance, which is absolutely brilliant in this as well. And just in general, it's a great story and one of the definitive Cyberman stories. While, yeah, sure, you may look at it from the outside and think, ah, that's a bit crap. Once you're inside, it's fucking brilliant, and that is why it comes in at number 1.